All right, we're all set.
All right. So good morning, everybody. It is Friday, May 14th. And as usual, my little mantra is, the slaughterhouse of failure is not in my destiny. I will persist until I succeed. Og Mandino, greatest salesman in the world. So that, please, is something we have to embed in our minds. Today, we're going to chat about something that has a direct bearing on how we think. So there's a person called Eric Weinmeier, and we just want to talk about his story a little bit, which is so relevant, because we always talk about goal setting. We talk about, visualize the end in mind. We've got to think about our plan of action, but we kind of visualize things, and we have that goal and the plan and the end in mind. Well, here we've got a man who climbed Mount Everest. Okay. Since 1953, when Edmund Hillary and Tenzing climbed Mount Everest for the first time. That was the first time anybody ever got there. Thousands of people go up there every year. Okay, very nice. But this guy was blind. This person, Eric Weinmeier, was blind. So I want you to think about this. Think about climbing Mount Everest blind. What does that mean? How do you vision that? How do you think about it? Just think of how all the elements are there, like the wind and the snow and the different clothing and clumsy boots and all sorts of strange things that you got to do, and you're totally blind. You've got to have some kind of blind faith, pardon the pun, to really want to achieve something, but it's in your mind. And this is what mindset's all about. It's in our minds. Person who is totally blind, climbing Mount Everest, and then climbing many of the other biggest challenge mountains that there are around the world. Why would he do that? And that's where we also got to go. Why do we do things? So I just wanted to start with this, with thinking about the unbelievable adversity that a person can have, and why he would want to do something such as climbing Mount Everest, and as a blind person.
So not only did he climb Mount Everest, and as you said, there's a lot of different challenges that go along with that. He has to learn how to climb ladders blind. He has to learn how to walk across a horizontal ladder to get across crevasses, do that blind. There's just so many challenges for a person who isn't blind. And then you look at, those challenges are increased monumentally for a person who can't see. And so not only did he climb Mount Everest, but he also climbed the 7 summits, which are the highest peaks on each of the continents. And so that's pretty impressive, and when you start to think about, how difficult that would be, I want everybody to maybe take a little bit of time out of your day today and just close your eyes and try to do something and see how difficult that is to do, how much more of a challenge that is to do. And, I think you'll get a good feel for what this guy's goals are and how hard they are to achieve. The one really cool thing about mountain climbing and climbing Mount Everest is that they have a bridge built for them already, right? They're following the bridge builders who have already climbed before. And that's what we're doing in this business. We're following a system, right? We're following the bridge builders who came before us. We don't have to build the bridge. It's already built for us. All we need to do is follow what others have done in this system before. And that's what they're doing when they climb Mount Everest. They send Sherpas up beforehand to put safety ropes up and secure the ladders and think for the difficult portions that aren't climbable. And so they're just following that same path that others have followed previous to them. I'm not saying it's easy, but somebody has already built that path. They're not forging their own path. And that's what we're doing in this business. And that's what we're teaching in this business, is to follow the bridge builders who came before us and who have already shown success. Right. And we're just basically implementing those same strategies and techniques, altering them for ourselves and how they're going to work best with our personalities. But for the most part, we're following, a system.
Well, the thing totally is the system is there for us. But, if you think about it, I want to just get back to the why we do things. So a person has a dream, and in this case, for this person that we're talking about, he was motivated by the fact that somebody with one leg climbed Mount Everest. He was motivated by people who had more serious adversities than he did. Somebody had a back injury and he still wanted to climb, and he was being helped, and he was doing like 6 inches at a time. It's the motivation and the why we do things that propel us to doing something. And when we have a system, or we have somebody that's done it before us, but we also got to understand that we have teams. And this is where another whole subject, which we're going to mention in a minute, but it's the first part of it that I wanted to get through, was the why we do things and what impels us and compels us to do this, and the ambition we have and how we want to see that goal in mind. And I just want to make it that for us, we always talk about that, and some people just like a challenge. I like a challenge. I don't like to be number 2. I like to be the best. Of course, I like to be. I don't always get there, of course, but I like to do that. So anyway, it's about our own passion about something, our own mission on something.
Yeah, and along with that, we have these goals and we have these passions and we have a purpose, right? But we also have limiting beliefs, and those limiting beliefs can be a barrier to growth. They can be a barrier to personal growth, personal education, whether or not you're going to meet your goals or not. So, we've got to understand those limiting beliefs and how we can get beyond those limiting beliefs to actually achieve our goals. And so we need, in that regard, we need to coach ourselves for where we want to be, right? We need to take ownership of where we want to be. We need to take accountability of what we're doing and whether we're being consistent and focused. And so you create your own destiny, right? Nobody else can do that for you. You have to do that on your own. We can coach you, we can give you the system, but if you're not willing to do the work, you're probably not going to be successful. We provide you with all of those tools. We have all of those tools available. All we expect is, if you've made the commitment to be an ambassador for the biophotonic scanner and the nutraceuticals, we expect you to at least sign up to also do the work, right? And that doesn't have to be 24 hours a day. It doesn't have to be 10 hours a day. It can be an hour a day. But we expect you to do this business full-time or part-time, not sometime, as Lawrence says. And so, along with that, you have to look at those things that keep you focused, but you also have to look at those things that steal your focus and make you feel less empowered. And when you realize what those things are, all you have to do is audit those things that steal your focus and your empowerment, and then do less of them, right? Have less of those things around in your office where you're doing your work. I said, I think last week on a call, or Tuesday on my call, I had like 3 guitars in my office. I had a couple of harmonicas, a couple of ukuleles. And it was like, I got to get this stuff out of my office because it's not allowing me to focus. It's stealing my focus, right? Because it's easy to look over and just grab something and play around with it for 15 or 20 minutes. So I got rid of all those things. I set my office up a little bit differently so I could remain a little bit more focused. I got a second whiteboard because my first one was filling up. And so, I'm trying to remain more focused, and it's not always easy, but you need to look at those things that are stealing your focus and your empowerment and kind of alter those on a regular basis.
Dan, you've just said something that I quickly wrote down. I love it. Audit things that steal your power or steal your focus. That's huge. You know, we, just by the way, I mean, I've mentioned before my little Vakambiki bush, which is that thorn bush in Africa that's prevalent everywhere. And if you walk through the savannah, it hooks into your clothes and it pulls you back until you disentangle yourself from these little thorns. So I think that's very powerful, Dan. Audit things that steal your power. I like that. And these are the distractions that we have. So, you know, somebody that wants to achieve something has to keep the focus on, it's like the dog and the ball. You know, that if there's a ball here and the dog is looking like at the ball, he's just doing this. If you move the ball and the dog looks that way, he's going to lose it. So it's the focus that we have and the determination that we have and the desire that we have. And, you know, somebody was saying that Mark Weinmeier, people like Weinmeier, was that he takes the lead life piles on them and figure out the way to turn it into gold. So, and that's what it's about. It's about us being able to mold what life gives us and where we are and what we have. I mean, we may be, you know, 7 foot tall and not be good for basketball, or we may be 5'5" and be wonderful at basketball. But we've got to be able to adapt, and we've got to be able to understand how we can maximize our own strengths and our own power within us. And that's what this is all about.
Maximizing those strengths and remaining focused is very important. And you know, along with that, you know, how many times do you have to go to the gym to stay in shape? All the time, right? You can't just go once a week or once every couple of weeks and expect to stay in shape. The same thing with this business. You have to practice this business on a regular basis. Otherwise, you're going to lose your focus. You're going to lose your consistency. You know, you're not going to stay in shape the way that you need to stay in shape to be effective at this business. And so I think, you know, that's really important from a consistency standpoint, but also from a purpose standpoint, from, you know, why are you doing this business? Are you doing this business to make money? Are you doing this business because you're looking for a social circle? Are you doing this business because you're purpose driven? Are you doing this business because you want to help other people? You want to serve other people? There's a number of different reasons you can do this business. And I think first thing you need to do is figure out why. Why are you doing this business? Figure out your why. And then from there, it's going to make life a lot easier because you're already going to know why you're doing this business and how to approach people with it. And, you know, if people want to, you know, if somebody comes up to you and they ask you what time it is, you don't want to tell them the end result to gain their interest, right? Or you want to tell them the end result to gain their interest, right? You're just going to tell them what time it is. You're not going to sit there and tell them how the clock was built, right? When they just want to know the time. And it's the same thing with our business sometimes. I think we get so hyper focused on, you know, the story of the scanner and the science behind the supplements. And, you know, but what we forget is it can be more simplistic than that. We're helping people get healthier, right? Not everybody wants to know those details. Some people just want to know, how do I get healthier? You know, how can I prevent these diseases? And we have that solution. And so we don't always have to get in, I don't think, in depth with folks about everything that we have. You know, we don't need to get into GrowVive, and we don't need to get into how they source the ingredients for the supplements. You know, for those people who want to know that, we can get into that. But I think you need to focus on, you know, how, just tell them the end result, right? How can they become healthier? How can they increase their score? Take this supplement, right? And we can prove it to you that they work because we have the device, right? So it's not always about getting deep into the weeds. It can be as simple as just giving them a solution.
Well, that's where we have huge advantages, where we can actually show people, test, measure, prove, and guarantee results. so it, the products we have, what we do, our business is so much easier than trying to get people to imagine what it would be like. Because most people that want to imagine something maybe don't have even the imagination to do that. But if we can show people how to do things, and even getting back to, just as a quick example, there was a lady that was swimming between, she'd swim the channel in England, and she swam very long distances. And she tried to swim between Cuba and Miami in the States many times. And because of weather and because of whatever, she didn't quite make it. And the last time she tried, I think she was already in her, I don't know, late 40s or something, maybe 50s. She tried to swim, and for some reason, she couldn't see the coast 1 mile from the end, from when she was going to, from the end of where she would, the goal was another 1 mile and she would have made it. But because she couldn't see it, she eventually gave up. So I think we've got to bear in mind what it is that the goals that we want. We want health, we want money. And if we do want health or we do want money, how much are we prepared to work for it? Health is a big, big word. Money is a big word. And even if we do with money, how much money do you need? How much money what are you going to do with it? People say, I want to have lots of money, or I want to be healthy. All right. What does that mean? Does it mean eating healthy? Does it mean going to the gym? Does it mean discipline? Does it mean investing your time wisely in what you're doing? Or you just want to be rich and famous like many of the millennials today? They just want to be rich and famous and don't want to even work for it. So we have the tools. We're part of the largest anti-aging research company in the US. And the company was rated number 10, among the 100 most trustworthy companies in the US. Trustworthy. This is teamwork. What is trustworthy? When you can trust the people that you're with, you can trust the people that Mount Everest, the person was climbing Mount Everest, he had a team that helped him. And that the team is to help him with his food, with his clothing, with his guiding him. We have teams. The team are 80 full-time employed scientists. We've got products that are unique, exclusive, patented, and no competition. Come on, man. What more do we want? And we've got our team of people. And it's our responsibility to help our team of people to be able to have trust and faith and belief in themselves and in what we have as products that we can offer to other people on their journey to health, or on their journey to financial freedom. So we've got the tools, and the teams are what we form, and the belief is what we've got to help ourselves first, and then the people in our team.
Fear is a huge limiting belief that a lot of people have, and it can completely cripple you, right? And so, some of the biggest challenges that people have are fear-based, right? The fear of success, their fear of doing something different, their fear of stepping outside the box. And we all have challenges, we all have successes, we all have failures. But part of our job in this business as business leaders is teaching people how to get beyond those challenges, how to make those challenges accomplishments, how to look at failure differently, look at it as a learning experience. One of the things that really kind of hit home with me about the story that Lawrence was telling about the blind Everest climber was that his team leader pushed him to inspire others to continue to challenge themselves and help others do it as well, right? And so one of the most interesting things that the team leader said to Eric Meyer is, don't let Everest be the greatest thing you ever do. That's a huge accomplishment for anybody. If they have, four appendages, if they have their eyesight, it's very difficult. But having the limitations of blindness, or not having one of your limbs, makes that challenge almost seem insurmountable. Yet they accomplish it anyway. And that's about being driven to reach your goals. And so we need to also help others in this business reach their goals. We need to help them define those goals. It could be reaching a pin title, it could be X amount of money a month, whatever that goal is for that particular person. We need to help them map out how they can reach those goals.
Yeah, and actually the first thing you said on that, Dan, was the team leader said to Weinmeier, don't let Everest be, the biggest thing you've done. Team leader. There's some little word in there. And this is what we are. We're all team leaders. And the biggest thing is we have to overcome our own psychological challenges so that we can be more effective to lead. And that is overcoming things like fear of failure, fear of success. Hey, look at that. Fear of failure and fear of success. It could be both things. People can be afraid of success just as much as they can be afraid of failure. What does it mean if you succeed? What does it mean if you fail? How are we going to help our teams with that? It's about how we think. Everything that we do is about mindset. And our own mindset is something that has to be really solid. And of course, we've also got to be able to I will say, pivot, so that we're always on top of how we're supposed to be. So let me rephrase that a little bit. We say, as Ogmandino says at the beginning, he says, I will persist until I succeed. Well, also, if you're in a hole, stop digging. So we've got to be able to tweak our own not destination, our own targets of where we want to get to, how we want to get there. So we have to be flexible, but we have to be very strong in our core belief and our why we're doing things.
Yeah, being strong and intentional, being accountable, those are all important things in this business. And our mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. And it's up to you to decide which it's going to be, right? With your mindset. And that's why we do these calls every Friday. I read something sometime that said that you are the 3 people that you hang out with the most, that you associate yourself with the most. And so, these calls are great because we have a lot of people on here that are into personal education, personal growth. And the more people we can get involved in this, the more people's lives we're going to change and help them, change that mindset and have control over their mind. And, if it was up to any of us, I think we would want our mind to be our best friend.
So there's a thing called Landmark Forum. There's an event called Landmark Forum. And in Landmark Forum, they invite people of just everybody. There could be 400 people in the room. There could be a judge sitting next to a prisoner, next to a brain surgeon, next to a mechanic, next to a tennis player. It doesn't matter, everybody. And one of the things they say in Landmark Forum is that life is empty and meaningless. And it's, you look at that and you say, what? Well, think about it. The canvas of life is a blank form ahead of you. It's up to you to put exactly what you want in there. Our so-called dream board is to put what you want in your life. And what is it that you desire? What is it that you want? Why do you want it? How are you going to get it? And this is what I believe teams are for as well, because we can have strength from each other, and it strengthens our own weakness in our own, because my own personal challenges are my indiscipline, and my focus goes all over the place. You can see how when we talk, I'm drawing on 16 things at once, and Dan is a genius at being able to focus it all. but it's up to us really to be able to gather our strength, gather our team, and focus on the end in mind, as this person did with the Mount Everest, even though he had never seen it. Never, I mean, he couldn't imagine. I mean, you can't imagine it.
It's all about breaking through barriers, right? We all have barriers to success, barriers to failure. You know, it's all about figuring out what those barriers are and figuring out a way to break through those barriers so that we can be successful and reach our goals. Do you have anything else, Lawrence, or you want to take some questions?
I'll take a question. I just wanted to say that with the person that was up there on Mount Everest, Eric Weinmeier, he said that Paul, one of the people with him, said it was the first time in a very long time that he could see his future, and ultimately there is no barrier in our life. It's only in our mind. That's it. Any questions? Anybody want to add something? We got another, well, we're just on time, another minute or so, a couple of minutes. If anybody wants to say anything or anybody wants to add or subtract anything, please go ahead. Martin, you're very quiet. Jim, extra quiet. What's happening?
Inspired. It takes a lot of concentration to catch up with you, all your thoughts here. There's just so much that you're putting out. I feel like I'm sitting on a pile of gold nuggets. You know, it's funny. I'm talking to a gentleman who I've spoken to his wife a couple of years ago, and this topic today just fits directly into my conversation with them, because she's a beautiful middle-aged lady who's just got all the talent in the world, but she has this thing called fear. And it just kills me to see this limiting belief, as you guys, you know, call it, that's holding her back. And so, you know, it's incumbent upon us to not just say, oh, too much time, too much trouble. We need to really put thought, and these calls help with that. We need to put thought into how can we influence this individual to go beyond her fears. It will enrich her life more than she could ever imagine, but we have to somehow effectively get her to believe that and take action.
Yeah, a lot of people, their fear of getting into this business could be about sales, right? And there's always, you know, there's, for some reason, there's a negative connotation to sales. And so if we can reverse the way that we think about it and think about it in the form, in the fashion that we're serving others by introducing them to something that they don't know, because they don't know what they don't know. They know what their physician tells them. Get on a drug. It's going to help you cure what ails you, right? But people don't know that you know, nutrition is important, and you can't get all the nutrition you want out of plants and fruits and vegetables because of the way they're grown, and we've depleted the soil. And so you need to get some form of supplementation going, right? And so if we're looking at it, or we're talking to people from a position of serving others, right, then the sales piece isn't really selling, right? We're showing them something that's going to help improve their life that they didn't know about. We're teaching them something, right? And so it's coming from a place of service rather than a place of sales. But I think if you come at it from a place of service, or a mindset of service, those sales are going to happen.
And also, Jim, you know, I used to do corporate team building.
Yeah.
And I've often said, you know, people, everybody's so different, personality-wise and so on. And somebody would say, but I've told this guy 10 times and he hasn't understood. Yeah, but did you show him? And I've explained to this guy 9 times and he still doesn't get it. Yeah, but did you explain it to him? So the fear is sometimes, or very often, something happens when the fear comes about because we don't know. Because it's fear of unknown. What if they say this, and what if they say that, and what if I fail? What if I upset the person? What if I offend the person? It's the fear of all sorts of goblins we got in our minds, and those are fears that, again, fear is false evidence appearing real, and we've got to make sure that people understand that, you know, it's in the mind. People say, I'm afraid of flying. Really? When was the last time the plane you were on fell? It's just a perception. And this is where teams come in. I'm harping on the team thing today as well, because it's important. It's
Well,
important. Go ahead.
I think just as a little add-on to that, you can tell people all this, you can show them all of this, and you can explain all of this, but until you really create a sincere relationship with that individual, they're not going to trust you. And I don't mean they think you're lying. They just don't have that feeling of trust that what you're saying can really convey to them. And so I think it all starts with relationship.
Can I just add, Jim, what you've just said, until they trust you. The scanner is something that for me is the most useful tool I've ever had. Why? Because we talk about nutrition. So every time I go anywhere and I scan somebody, and usually the average American scans in the orange or the red, and then I say, put your name on, and I put my hand on, because up to now, they're just listening like this.
Right.
I say, put your hand on, put your name in this in the iPad, and I'll put my hand on. And when it goes off the charts, they unfold and say, oh, well, what do you do? Oh, well, how are you up there? How did you get to the blue? So now we've broken a barrier because we've been able to prove something. And I think what you're saying is actually very valid. They trust now because it's not just what I say, it's what I do. And that's why we say, walk your talk. Be who you are. Be who you are. And if you can, you can show it in this case, that takes down the barriers too.
Yeah.
And you can only do that, Lawrence, by being a product of the product. Otherwise,
Yes.
You wouldn't get the score.
No, that's true.
And we've got some major improvements going on at our house right now. And basically on the basis that I'm spending money with all of those contractors, I'm kind of pretty much insisting that they take my test. And it's been very interesting to see what happened. It was kind of like when I was in the hospital. If the doctors were going to poke and prod me, I was going to test them. And I think there's a certain element of reciprocity. There was a plumber here yesterday, and I could smell cigarette smoke on him. And I tested him, and not entirely surprisingly, he scored a massive 13,000. And he ran in complete terror. And the people who are doing the pavers outside our front driveway, young man who basically said, I'm leaving accountancy next week. I'm going to be running the business. I'm going to be out in the sun. And I just don't have the energy. He said, I have difficulty getting out of bed in the morning. I said, I think we can help you. And his father has chronic bronchitis. Has had it now for 5 years. It's now in both lungs, and terrible score, terrible skin infection. I suspect that 90 days on LifePak Nano will see a very different circumstance for him. And so I don't feel I am selling to them. I feel like I'm offering them an insight which there's practically no other way for them to get. And it's an insight into something that can literally change lives. So this is a service. This is the come from for me is, how can I help you? How can I best help you? The fact that I make a small commission on it is irrelevant. Yes, it's nice, it's helpful, but that isn't the main point. It isn't the main come from. I think it's being in service.
Absolutely.
So true.
I think there's different situations for different approaches, but I think if you come at it from a point of service, that's going to trump everything, right? I talked to one of my team leaders this week, and he went up to New York for a meeting, and he's like, I think I'm going to take my scanner with me. And they had a meeting with the doctor and a couple of medical device reps. And after the meeting with the doctor, he pulled the medical device reps aside, and he started telling, he had talked to them about it before, and they were kind of hesitant, skeptical. But they went back to the hotel, and he said, I'm going to scan you guys tonight. And one guy was a thin, healthy looking guy. He scanned at 18,000. The other guy's a little bit younger. He eats a little bit better. He scanned at 33,000. And they were skeptical. They're like, scan us again, scan us again, scan us again. He scanned them 2 or 3 times and the scores came back the same. And they're like, we thought this was just like a scam. This thing's actually accurate. You scan both of our hands, it came back, same score. And they're like, we want to sign up. We know tons of doctors, medical device reps and distributors. So he's signing up 2 reps, from just by showing them that what we have is real, right? And getting them to believe that and trust that what he's saying is real.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people are skeptical, that when they see the device or they get scanned, I'd say 50% of people say, scan me again.
Well, that's where I walk 10 feet tall, because we spent $100 million in that device. Why? Because we wanted to be able to science-based evidence, test, measure, prove, and guarantee that what we have is real and works. So, and also the fact that we use that, and it was not developed by us, was developed by third parties, University of Utah, funded by the NIH, and uses a Nobel Prize winning technology. I mean, where's the discussion? So
no, it's game, set, and match.
Yeah, it is. It's checkmate. I mean, that's attitude that's why it's very difficult to be humble when you know what you got. I mean, I'm a Leo, so even more humble I've got to be, because that's even more difficult because I'm a Leo. That's a joke. But I'm just trying to say that when you've got something so fantastic.
Of course you are. You're from Africa.
That was funny.
And you can tell by my elephant ears. I got it.
Yeah, they're in the
terrible
same
flap
Africa.
about that.
But I'm saying that it's an attitude of positivity, an attitude of knowing what we know, that we can test, measure, prove, and guarantee. That's huge.
I do believe that when people are underconfident going into this business, it's either because they're underconfident in themselves or they're underconfident in what we have. And the truth is, what we have has such incredible excellence behind it that they can really put their own doubts about themselves to the side as they take in something that is absolutely rock solid. And when they do that, they can suspend their disbelief for a few minutes and make a significant impression.
And I don't think that it's necessarily their doubts about what we have. It's more about the doubts about what they don't know about what we have, right?
Correct.
And being able to convey that to others because they haven't taken the time to either come to the symposium or look at all the studies or read the Katie report or, it took me a long time till I got to the Katie report. I think I've told you this before. It took me about a year, maybe a year and a half till I read the whole entire thing. And when I did, I was like blown away.
Hey, Dan, can I ask you what caused you to join if you didn't do all that research?
I did. Well, I did a little bit of research up front, and then, within about a month and a half, I went out to the symposium, and that was the game changer for me. I saw the technology right away. I was like, you know what? If what they're saying is real, the company spent this much amount of money on it. They believe in it, right?
Yeah.
To improve the device and improve the technology. A company's not going to spend $100 million on something that doesn't do what it says it does, right? Then I'd probably going to spend $50,000 on something that's not going to, have some efficacy to it.
Yeah.
If they're a solid company and a trustworthy company, they're just not going to do that. For me, it was more about the time, the lifestyle that this business affords. I can do it from anywhere. Obviously I believe in the products and I believe in the science and everything, but initially it was more about the time and I just saw the value in having the scanner and being able to prove that the supplements work. The game changer.
Hey, can I ask you, with orthopedic device, how many companies that you represented would spend $60 million a year on their R&D?
I would say that they have pretty deep pockets. I would say a lot of them are spending about that amount.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say between research and studies that they're doing, and I would say a lot of them. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. You
So
know,
we're on par with them.
yeah, 60. Yeah, I would say
We are
definitely.
too.
Yeah, I think they're spending
Does
less
anybody
money.
know?
I think they're spending less money now because their reimbursements are much lower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anybody know typically how many scientists does a pharmaceutical company have on staff? And I know that's how long is a piece of string type question, but we tout that we have 85 scientists or so on staff at all time. And I just don't know how that, what's the basis of comparison there? How do we rank? I know with nutritional companies, we're just light years ahead of just about anybody. But what about other major pharmaceutical companies?
I would say they probably have similar amounts of scientists, maybe even more. 'Cause some of these companies, like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, these are like 60 billion a year
Right.
companies. I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised if they had the same amount or more.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I was talking to a lady just the other day who was working for Aztec Zeneca, and so I looked them up. It's 15 to almost 16 billion a year with 75,000 employees. So they probably have a pretty good pocket for investment.
Yeah.
I think in the park where we in our own sandbox, which is in preventive medicine and in nutraceuticals and skincare, I think we're pretty well represented in terms of scientific of science. In fact, just as a thing, yesterday I was in Aventura, and it was 4:30, and I was on my way just about coming home, and I went to the hospital medical center there, and the doctor, the nurse practitioner, the office manager said, "Oh, the doctor's not going to be able to see you. I mean, it's 4:30. He's got a board meeting, and you can try and call us on Monday, and maybe we'll try and fit you in sometime next week to come and speak to the doctor." And as I was there, the doctor came out of his room, and I said, "Doc, preventive medicine." And he turned around and he said, "What?" I said, "Preventive medicine. I'd like to chat with you for a minute." And he said, "Look, I've got a board meeting, but come with me a minute." And he spent 25 minutes with me listening. And I showed him the scanner, and he said, "Well, in this case," he's a gastroenterologist. And he said, "Well, in this case, I mean, send me the science because I'm extremely skeptical, but you've shown me something." And we chatted for 25 minutes, and he was on his way to the board meeting. So I'm just saying, we have something, the science-based evidence. It's exciting. I love it. And there's nothing that I can see that is anything that is of negativity in this. We've just been blessed by Princess Grace over here.
All right. Do you want to wrap it up, Lawrence? We're almost.
Anybody else got anything?
It's past time.
Thanks for your time, guys. Thanks
everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for your input, Jim.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great weekend,
everybody.
Thanks for the leadership.
Listen.
Thanks for the call. Have a great weekend.
Ciao.
Have a great weekend.
Guys.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.